Okay, let's get started. It is Monday, July 25th, 2022 at 10 a.m. Wilson County Court Special Meeting is now in session. If y'all would join me in reciting the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay.
Yeah. Did we do this one? It's deja vu all over again.
Okay, we have one item on the agenda today. Agenda item number 2, Richard L. Jackson County Judge, Brenda Trevino County Auditor, discuss and possible action on approving flexible spending account for Wilson County employees for medical purposes only.
Yes, thank you, Judge, and thank you for the special meeting. We got the information on Friday morning after the first agenda was created, so that's why we're here at 10 this morning. I've given you a copy of a proposal from Tally Benefits for your review and approving a flexible spending account for Wilson County employees. For those who are not familiar with the flexible spending account, it is a pre-tax benefit to offer to the employees, and basically in simple terms, to sum it up, employees can elect a certain dollar amount up to $2,850 per year to be put onto a debit card effective October 1. And then that debit card can be used for any medical expenses, including co-pays, prescriptions, toward their deductible, dental visits, eyeglasses, etc. And the benefit for the county, and I'll let Mr. Talley explain a little bit more, but benefit for the county, we get a tax break because it is pre-tax dollars. And the only cost to the county would be administrative costs, which is a $500 startup, plus around $3 per employee per month, depending on how much the employee elects to sign up for. We're asking for your review of it because open enrollment will begin next week for our new health benefits package, and this is another benefit we would like to offer to employees that would certainly help. And any expense to the county, would be offset by the cost savings that we're saving in our health benefit package. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Talley to for explanation for
just one little correction. It is a flat $3 per employee per month, so it doesn't matter what the deferral amount is.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jalen mentioned it may have been like between $1 and $5 depending on what they
No, I think I've given her some ranges of what cost could be. The reason we quoted NBS, because NBS will be handling the COBRA administration, so it made sense to go with them because they would be cheaper versus us going to another provider. So that's why it's $3. Normally it can be up as high as $5.
Oh, okay.
So what it boils down to is I gave you an assumption of 40 employees. So what I did is I looked at another group that we have about this size, and their enrollment is actually running more than 40, but I just wanted to give you a conservative estimate. So if we assume that 40 people enrolled in this, it's $120 a month, and I think that comes to $2,400 per year. And then I showed you what the estimated cost was, and it's less than the tax savings, okay? So for example, for all the dollars that get deferred, every dollar that gets deferred into this account, the county does not pay payroll taxes on. So you're saving the 7.65% payroll tax. And so the employee is not paying tax on their amount that they defer into the plan as well, okay? That being said, if you use it for your medical or deductibles or any kind of out-of-pocket expenses, then it's tax-free, so you never pay taxes on it. This is a common benefit in groups. I would say 90% of the groups that we have, it's in the group. It's very common. When you look at what we've done at this county over the last several years, we went from paper to an electronic enrollment system. That was kind of moving everything
Another step
forward, and
forward,
that was a good step. But then Jaylan said that she's heard some employees asking, well, how come we don't have a flexible spending account? So I think there's interest out there, and it's just a good way to help save tax dollars for the employees, but then the county saves the payroll tax. So most of the time, it's really just a wash. You save enough to cover the admin expense. And yes.
If an employee has it and they don't spend the money, I'm assuming to carry over to the next year?
Well, there's an option of a $500 carryover credit, so that's what you're allowed, $500, or the use it or lose it rule, which used to exist years ago. Everything we've written in the last several years, we always do the $500 credit, because that just means that the employee doesn't have to spend down to zero as long as they just have 500 or less in their account. That rolls over to the next year. That helps the employee not panic because they're going to lose the money, okay? And so any money that is forfeited because of that rule comes back to the county, okay? And so, but that's just the IRS rule, and that's how it works. But I would recommend the $500 rollover provision when we set this up,
Yeah.
because all the groups we have, we're doing that now because it just makes more sense.
Yeah, and they do have an option there if they go to fsa.gov as it gets closer to the end of the year, and let's say they have, $100 left on their account, they can go online and purchase first aid kits, thermometers, Band-Aids, aspirin, anything like that related to it. And I can just speak from experience because my husband has an FSA, and what's good about it from personal experience is, especially if you know in advance what your medical expenses might be. So my husband goes to the doctor every week, and I know that it's going to be $25 every pay period, or every time he goes. I can calculate that out for the year to help me understand how much I want to defer in his paycheck toward our flexible spending account. I had a root canal last year and was able to use my flexible spending account card because the money was already there, instead of me having to pay out of pocket from my bank account right then and there. So
I guess that's standard. That's what I was going to ask. My wife was on one a few years ago, and whenever you get to a point, you can go to the drugstore and purchase not just anything, but a large number of items.
And IRS expanded even more items in recent years. So, there's a lot of things you can get. For the most part, most people really do get it spent down, because even if you're a healthy person, if you go several times a year to the doctor, it all adds up. And you can apply that toward that flexible spending account. Yes?
Not to mention that there are some of us who are on Medicare, but we still have, dental and eyeglass, and anyway, we're still on those with the county. Can we use it for those other two?
I have to double check on that.
Okay.
Because of the Medicare. So
okay, it's not a big deal, but I was just curious.
On the dental side, you should be fine, but I just need to double check that.
Okay,
now, you wouldn't be able to use it for any kind of Medicare related stuff, okay? But since you do have dental to the workplace, it's very possible, but I need to double check on that.
But any other,
Somebody you knew, an older person.
outside of that though, it can be used for vision and dental
Oh, it
services
can.
too.
Okay. Well,
We've used it for braces, we've used it for eyeglasses. I mean, it's
Oh,
your
good.
money, it's the employee's money, it's just how you opt to use it.
I can't recall, what's the deductible on the new policy?
The new policy, I believe it's gonna be
2,000,
$2,000, but you have the option to buy down to a lower deductible if you opted
Can you use this money?
toward your deductible,
For your
absolutely.
deductible.
It's just like if you're spending your own debit bank card.
Deductibles, co-pays, anything like that,
And it is fronted at the beginning of the year. So if you chose $2,000 during the enrollment process, October 1, you would have a debit card with $2,000 available for you to use for the next 12 months.
So does the deductions come out of your
Employee-
paycheck?
every
for-
paycheck.
For the annualized?
Yes.
26 paychecks.
Yeah, so
That kind of makes sense.
it would start 10/1 and then wrap up September 30th. And then there's a run out tail, because let's say you go to the doctor September 29th of 2023. Well, naturally, you don't have time maybe to file that
Yeah.
claim. So there's typically a 90-day run out that employees can file claims for July, August, September before the plan does their rollover into the new year.
Okay, what's the minimum that you can,
Minimum typically is $50. You know,
okay, it goes down that far?
oh yeah.
Okay.
You can set whatever minimum you like. You can even do 25, but really, once you get to 25, it really doesn't do much for the employee. So we usually set the minimum at 50. But
Okay, so you've got this, and you're the only one on the insurance.
Mhm.
You can use it for your whole family, though.
yes.
It's not associated with anybody.
With your particular
on the
medical
plan.
insurance.
It's not associated, say you got a parent living with you or something.
Well-
It would work for that person?
It
Or-
had to be a dependent.
No.
It has to be a
Has to be a
dependent
dependent?
of the person that's
Okay.
insured at the county.
Yeah, and I would also say, because I noticed in here that they have an app that you can use,
Mhm.
because there is some responsibility to the employee. If the provider requires you to submit your receipts to validate that it is an eligible expense, they could deny it, and then the employee would have to pay out of pocket and not, the credit would go back to the flexible spending account. So there are some checks and balances on, what's considered approved. But most of the time, if they get a detailed printout from their doctor, then that's all. You have to take a picture and upload it, and it's good
Yeah.
to go.
I will say with NBS, most of this is pretty streamlined. You know, claims adjudication has gotten very advanced this day and time, where if you've ever noticed, if you go to HEB, sometimes it will ask you if you want to apply this to your FSA. And so there's a lot of automation that goes on behind the scenes, to the point where if it's a traditional claim like medical or whatever, you're probably never going to have to file anything,
Yeah.
because it automatically happens. You just swipe your card at the provider's office and it's done.
Now, if an employee has a family cover, say his wife,
Mhm.
3 or 4 kids, do they have to get one for each one?
No, it's just a flat amount that you can do each year, $28.50, that's it.
And 2,000 is the max.
$2,850.
2,000.
And it's only used for medical. You can't go to HEB and go
what
load up
happens-
on
It has
steaks
to be
and beer.
used for eligible expenses, and there's a whole list of them out there that the IRS publishes, so it's not like anybody's going to be able to abuse this
Yeah,
credit or money. And the
Yeah.
reality is, it's their money anyway,
Yeah.
okay? And you're just allowing them to defer it into this account. They don't pay taxes on it, you don't pay payroll taxes, and if they use it for the right purposes, then it's totally tax-free to them.
So if you have over $500 left at the end of the year, where does that money go?
The amount over the 500 would go back to the general fund of the county. And so what that money is used for is, let's just say that a person put $2,000 in there, and October 2nd, they went to the dentist and they totally exhausted their $2,000, okay, because it's upfronted. So the county would have fronted that money. When she writes the bill to the NBS company, she's going to write that $2,000 check. Well, what happens is that employee continues to work here, so each month, they're paying that into the general fund. But let's say 6 months down the road, that employee decides to terminate employment. Well, then in that case, that's where monies that are left over, those are used to offset any potential liability to the county if there's money that the county spent out that they didn't recoup all the amount from the employee. Okay, so that's what happens to those extra amounts. If someone forfeits some of their account, it goes back to the general fund, and that money is used
So
to
even though it's
offset.
taken out of their payroll, they can't get that money back.
Not anything above 500 if they terminate employment, and there's 500 or more.
yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
that's an
That's
IRS
just
rule,
a
but
rule.
it's very, very rare that with really any company that an employee has more than well, I would say 500 is pretty high, not, but more than $500 left to roll over. Because everybody knows usually that it's pretty common. It's a use it or lose it type of situation. So everybody who signs up has reason to sign up, so they know that they're going to spend.
So if you have 500 or less, it rolls over to the new year?
Yes,
Correct.
exactly.
And then in the new year, you get to have another 2,000, so you
If
have
you had-
2,500?
If you elected to have that, yes.
Carry over. And if you,
Then you'd have 3,000 for the year.
and then if you don't elect to carry it over, what happens?
No, it's automatic.
It's automatically
Okay,
carried
that's what I
over.
thought.
That's how it would be written in the
Yes,
plan.
it would be
Yeah.
automatic carryover. But we can't do the carryover until that tail runs out in the end.
Correct.
Because you have to be able to, there's a little audit done of the numbers. So once everybody has the opportunity to claim everything they had from July, August, and September, after that opportunity runs out, then that's when those accounts get the money put back into them for that rollover. Okay?
So it actually would occur in January, Larry, when that 500 roll over.
Pretty much, yes,
Late December.
in that time frame. So this is a very common plan to have in place. I would bet, well, I know for sure Bear County and a lot of the other bigger counties have these plans in place, and even the smaller counties. So it's something that, like I said, our proposal came as a request from Jalen because of people talking about it and saying, hey, can we do this? And then the other thing is, we'll be having some group meetings introducing the new plans to everyone. And we always tell them that, it has a $500 rollover provision. And if you have that money or less left in the account, then that rolls over. So we're very cautious when we tell them, look, you need to kind of project how much you need in this account. Don't just load it up if you don't really plan on having the need for it. And so we always kind of talk about that.
Yeah, and I would say, I just, again, from personal experience, like our first year, I was kind of hesitant. So I would imagine that maybe employees would start off with a small amount first in their first year, and then realize at the end of 12 months, oh, I should have contributed more because my braces were $2,000 and I only elected $1,000, and I could have had it already paid for. So we may
It's kind of like a no-interest loan.
pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah, like I said-
it's your own money that you're borrowing against pretty
Yeah,
much.
it immediately is $28.50.
If they
When
elected
you get
that.
the car,
If they
or
elect-
whatever you elect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question I know for you.
Mhm.
What if they terminate before?
That's what I was gonna ask. Somebody signs up for it October the 1st, $2,000 is there.
So I've seen it
November the
done.
1st, they have a surgery or something,
Yeah.
spend $2,000 and then quit. What happens?
So I've seen it a couple of ways, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, and Kathy may have to do some research on it as well. It's my understanding that we can collect whatever we can from their last paycheck, because technically they owe the county back that money. I don't know whether some other,
Yeah, the payroll side, I wouldn't know the answer to
Yeah.
that particular question, but that's where any money that's forfeited, that would go toward offsetting, those dollars.
yeah, but we wouldn't know
So-
any forfeited funds until a year later,
So,
so.
on most of all our cases, I'm not gonna say 100%, but the majority, when they get down to the end of the year, it's a wash, or they usually have a little money left over. So it's really probably to the county's favor versus, because I know we all think about, well, what if this happens? And it does happen. But typically, if there's any forfeitures, that usually offsets more than enough, so.
Usually employees are talking about it as the end come, with each other as you get closer to the end. And people are used to using it, so they'll say, yeah, if you need your eyes, whatever, you better go ahead and do it so you don't.
And it may be something that we can write into the policy or notify the employees that should you leave employment prior to the 12 months is up, any amount that would be owed back to the county may go after what's owed to them via last paycheck or whatever that amount,
And we'll have to check into that, to see if that's
Yeah.
doable or not, but.
I can't, when I've been on it for, 20 years ago, University of Texas, excuse me, had it. And I don't remember that point, but I'll look too.
Might have changed over the last 20 years.
Yeah, they haven't changed any.
What has changed, there used to not be a rollover provision. It was just
Yeah.
a straight use it or lose
That was
it.
only happened
And so
over the
that's
last
probably about
couple
4
of
or 5
years.
years ago.
So
And-
NPS is the one that administers the program?
Yes, yes, sir. And we have NBS doing all of Floresville ISD's administration. You know, Floresville ISD has a little over 700 employees, and we really don't have any calls, issues. They do a good job servicing the account. They do a great job with automation. And what's really also nice is the rep that I've known since 1996 is still the rep for NBS. And so I actually still have a person I can call and talk to that hasn't changed through the years. So that hadn't happened much in the insurance industry, but.
So that probably means he's
Yes.
fixing to retire though.
Well, yeah, well, you know, heck, that means I must be getting close.
So it's only
Anyway.
gonna cost the employee $3 a month, basically.
No, that would
The
be the
county.
cost to the county.
That's the county's
Yes, that's a county
expense.
cost.
What is it gonna cost the employee?
Whatever they put in.
What they defer.
Their
to the
choice.
account.
Whatever they put in divided by 26.
Correct.
Yeah, and so what happens is the deferral amounts they put in, the county doesn't pay the payroll tax on, therefore, you're covering your cost.
Yeah, just instead of going to the government.
Sure. And what we can do when we wrap up enrollment, we'll have the exact numbers and we can show you after post-enrollment, you know, maybe in November and say, okay, here's what the enrollment, or we can maybe even do it September. Here's what the enrollment was, this is what the deferral amounts were, and this is where you kind of stand, you know. That's all I have.
I'll make a motion to approve the flexible spending account for Wilson County employees for medical purposes only.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Fowle, that we approve the flexible spending account for Wilson County employees for medical purposes only. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So, we've got that. Anybody have anything else? If not, at 10:22, we're adjourned. Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome. And I'm here.